Grace and peace be with all of you. Please be seated. No one who puts their hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. Jesus has some hard things to say this morning. Do we have anyone in the room, I think at least one person maybe, who grew up on a farm or is familiar with farming through personal experience? Oh, several people. Okay, all right. My mother grew up on a farm. My sister and I were sort of odd man out. All my cousins and aunts and uncles on that side of the family were farmers in the Appalachian Mountains of East Tennessee. And I remember one summer, my cousins and I were gathered, and they were all talking about their plot of land that their parents had sort of parceled out to them for them to cultivate over the summer to make money, like as an allowance sort of a thing. And they were talking about the work involved, and they asked me what I was growing on my plot, and I had no plot, and I wouldn't have known how to grow anything even if I had one. In the world of ancient Israel, of course, in the world of the Bible, it is an agricultural economy. And the other thing to remember about ancient Israel is the land they are cultivating is desert. So I want to tell you a little bit about the practices and the plow. The plow was sort of a wooden plow. It had a metal tip on it, and it was pushed by hand by the person plowing. It was being dragged forward by two oxen who were yoked together. So when you wanted to plow a field, you put your hand on the plow, and then in your other hand you had a stick, and the stick had two ends. One of the ends had a nail on it to sort of poke at the oxen to make them move appropriately and switch directions and all that. And the other end of the stick had a shovel on it for when the tip of the plow would get clogged up and you needed to clean it up. And unlike a plow in this country that we're more familiar with, which sort of furrows and turns over the soil, this was more like just creating a narrow ditch, almost like perforating the soil, because if you turn the soil over, it's going to dry out. It's desert, right? It will bake in the sun, and that will not lead to good crops. So basically what they're doing when they plow is they're perforating the land so that when the rain comes, the rain can get deep into the soil and prepare it for the seed. And they didn't just plow once, right? Like in our current farming life, what little I know about farming, and the real farmers in the room, you just jump in and correct me if I say something wrong, by all means. But now, we've got tractors, right? And we plow an entire field, right? And then the different machines come back behind it and drop the seed, and then there's, the various treatments, and the whole field is just done at once. That is not how ancient Israel managed their crops. They had an elaborate system worked out that yielded good results in the land that they had to cultivate. So a field would be divided into subfields, and they would manage each subfield separately, because if you planted a crop in this field and something went wrong, then you've still got these other little subfields that may still do okay. So it was sort of like, diversifying your funds, right? That's the language we might speak. So, and they would plow multiple times. So the first plowing, and remember the planting season is from October to December, and then sometimes the second planting in January. So it's not our season either. So after the harvest, they would make broad plowing furrows in the land. Then a second plowing, they would come back again, and they would, after the first rains had soaked in, they would plow again to sort of level the ground. Then came the plowing that readied the field for sowing, and these were not broadly spaced furrows. These were much more tight and narrow, and they were preparing for the seed to be laid down. And then after the seed is laid down, you plow again to cover over the seed. So I want to make a connection. I mean, I think the Bible does it all the time, right? I mean, many, many, many of the metaphors and images and guiding sort of stories in the Bible are agrarian, which is harder for us. But I want to make an even stronger connection between the life of the farmer and the life of Jesus and his disciples. Jesus has set his face toward Jerusalem. Jesus has spent his entire ministry talking about who he is and who he is not. He has been clarifying over and over again, and not in like what we would call a zealous religious sort of way, right? Though not in that sort of negative. He's been against that. He's been open to questions and conversation, but the whole time he has been utterly clear about who he is and who he is not. And now he is very clear about where he is headed. So he has clarity about the meaning and the purpose of his life and what it will take him to pursue that with integrity. And I think we can say that also about a farmer. A farmer has absolute integrity about the meaning and purpose of their daily life. It is to grow food to feed their family, and hopefully enough food then to feed the community. And in order to pursue that goal single-heartedly, that entails certain commitments over and over again, sustained commitments, discipline, a certain cost, right? Getting up early, and this is true even now, getting up early every day, doing the things that need to be done, saying no to the things that get in the way of those things that need to be done, because there is a goal, there is a purpose, there is a meaning to all of these smaller decisions and actions along the way. So my guess is that some of you have read some books about productivity and time management, because I know we've got a lot of business people, and sometimes even those of us who are not business people read these things, because to be perfectly honest, our lives are overwhelming, and we're desperate for some guidance. So there's an interesting book called Atomic Habits, about building good habits and getting rid of bad ones, by a guy named James Clear. I don't know if you've heard of him. His book was on the New York Times bestseller list. It's worth a read. We talked about it in our Lenten group. And in the book, he talks about how, we're very prone to loving these things like 7 things successful people do before breakfast, right? We love that kind of stuff, right? It's almost like, oh, here's my New Year's resolution opportunity, right? Like someone's going to give me the answer and that'll fix it. Here's what James Clear has to say. He says, that's baloney. He says, there are 3 things that successful people do day in and day out. They get out of bed, they show up, and they do things that matter. That's it. And there are different ways to do those things, right? Where do you show up? How do you show up? Who do you show up with? How equipped are you when you show up? What are the things that matter that you're engaged in? But I think Jesus would be A-okay with that definition of what it means to be a Christian, right? Let's distill it down. Get up out of bed, show up, do things that matter. There you go. That's only 3, not even 7. So I think in the gospel today, in Galatians, we hear very strongly that there are certain things that should be of utmost importance to us, that we are given this life and we have choices to make. And let me tell you, we live in a culture where we love choices, right? I think that's part of our problem. We've got so many choices, and we idolize choices, don't we? Like, for whatever reason, it's always better to have 50 kinds of toothpaste to choose from than 3. I look at that wall and I just pick the same one every time. It's exhausting, right? And it's not just toothpaste. We never want to close down our options. More choices are always better. I don't know. Is that really true? Not biblical, actually. And frankly, I'm not sure it is true, because when you look at people who live those sorts of lives, the people we hold up as, oh, that's what I want to be, right? The reality TV stars, the celebrities, the super, super wealthy, they can do whatever they want any time of day or night. They have the means and the opportunity, and they're miserable. And by and large, from what I can tell, I don't know any of them personally, I don't want to be judgy, but a lot of them don't seem to be very nice or very happy. So what the ancient wisdom tells us, and what the Bible says clearly, and what Jesus says, is there are 3 steps. And the first is getting clear about what's fundamentally important to us. What is the meaning and the purpose of our lives? That's step 1. And then the next step is understanding that between here and there are certain costs, we might say, right? Like if you have a business plan, there are certain costs. You have to invest yourself. You have to spend time. You have to say no to certain other things. And paying those costs requires self-discipline. It's interesting how outdated and old-fashioned these things can sound in our contemporary context. So I want to share with you another quote from another guy named Luca Delana, another business guy. And he's done a little twist on the serenity prayer. Even those of you who are not in 12-step groups, I bet you probably know the serenity prayer because it's out there in our culture, right? God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the wisdom to change the things I can, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? You've seen that on posters, Hallmark cards, everywhere. So he says it like this: Lord, give me the honesty and clarity to acknowledge what is important for me, my deepest values, my guiding principles, the aim and purpose of my life, right? Give me the honesty and the clarity to acknowledge what is important to me. The wisdom to understand what that will cost, and the discipline to pay those costs. I think that's what Jesus is telling us in the gospel today. And I will round it up like this. It is hard work and inconvenient to live the life of a farmer. But boy, I tell you, that's a life full of meaning and purpose and self-respect. It is hard work and a lot of discipline to be a good and faithful spouse, to be a good and faithful parent, to be a good and faithful soldier, doctor, fill in the blank. To be a good and faithful person, a person of integrity. It is hard to do. It has always been hard. And I think there are things in our contemporary context that may make it even harder now. I don't know. So here's the takeaway. It is inconvenient to be a faithful Christian. Amen.